The sun dipped behind the jagged mountains of Arcturus IV, casting long shadows over the terraced farms that clung stubbornly to the rocky soil. The colony had survived harsh seasons before, acid rains, magnetic storms, failing crops, but nothing like this. Captain Celine Vos stood on the observation deck, fingers drumming against the railing, eyes scanning the distant horizon. "Another day, another cargo shipment delayed," muttered Jaren, her tactical officer, leaning against the bulkhead. His voice carried a tired edge, but there was no panic, yet. Celine shook her head. "We can't let inefficiency slow us down. The Empire might not notice us today, but tomorrow." Her voice trailed as a distant flash of light caught her eye. A starship emerged from the void like a predator, gleaming black under Arcturus Ivy's dying light. It wasn't human. Its contours were sharp, angular, cruelly designed for intimidation. The colony's sensors blared warnings, unidentified fleet entering the sector. Jaren swore under his breath. "They found us." Celine's stomach tightened. "No. Not yet. But they will." She grabbed the comm panel. "All units, prepare for evacuation protocol Alpha. This is not a drill." Panic rippled through the colony. Children clutched their parents, engineers abandoned workstations, and farmers scrambled toward transport shuttles. The Empire did not negotiate. They did not warn. They annihilated. Celine's heart pounded as memories of her homeworld's destruction resurfaced. Her family, gone in seconds, reduced to ash and silence. The Empire fleet dropped out of hyperspace, its capital ships dwarfing the largest human vessels. Orbital bombardments lit the sky like a second sun. Buildings collapsed with thunderous cracks, the soil burned, crops turned to cinders. People screamed, and Celine barked orders, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Shuttles 5 through 10, head for the Nebula Corridor. Keep formation tight." The colony's fleet scrambled, small but nimble, weaving between volcanic peaks and jagged craters. Celine piloted her flagship, the Resolute, with precision born of desperation. Explosions rocked the ship. Alarms screamed as the first capital ship's plasma cannons tore into the outer perimeter. "Chemo, casualties!" Celine shouted. Her medic, already tending the wounded, barely nodded. "We'll make it. Stay focused." Through the chaos, Celine's eyes found the surface below. Smoke rose in twisted pillars, and the screams of the dying carried on the wind. Her home, her family, everything she loved, obliterated. The bitter taste of helplessness clawed at her throat. "Captain, incoming interceptors!" Jaren warned. Small Empire fighters swooped in, black needles against the red horizon. Celine's hands flew over the console. "Divert power to shields and engines. Prepare countermeasures. Hit them where it hurts, use the terrain." The fleet danced through narrow canyons, human ingenuity against mechanical perfection. Ships weaved through asteroid belts, over cliffs, into cavernous valleys, terrain the Empire couldn't predict. Each strike, each evasive maneuver, carried the spark of defiance. Even in the face of annihilation, humanity refused to bow. A voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, the evac shuttles are under fire." Celine's jaw tightened. "Do not let them break formation. Focus on getting civilians out. If we fall together." For a fleeting moment, a human pilot, barely 16, looked over at Celine and asked, trembling, "Are we going to survive this?" Celine's eyes hardened, but her voice was steady. "We've survived worse. And we'll survive this too. Stick to the plan. Trust your crew. Trust yourself." Yet deep inside, she knew survival was no longer a matter of hope, it was a fight against the impossible. She had spent years advocating diplomacy, measured responses, and civilized conduct. Now, all of that lay in ruins alongside her colony. The fleet made it to the Nebula Corridor, a dense cloud of ionized gas that jammed sensors and masked their escape. Celine exhaled, allowing herself a brief moment of relief. The enemy would pursue, but for now, human ships slipped like shadows through the haze. Jaren approached, wiping soot from his face. That was miraculous, Captain. I didn't think we'd make it. Celine didn't smile. Miraculous isn't enough. They'll come for us again. And next time, they won't wait for a warning. She scanned the fleet. The survivors were ragged, terrified, but alive. We tried being civilized. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but it carried the weight of promise. Not anymore. The survivors exchanged glances. Some understood. Some didn't yet. But the message was clear: humanity would fight back. Not with protocol, not with diplomacy, not with the illusion of civility. They would fight with cunning, courage, and ferocity. Celine moved to the communications panel, contacting other colonies. All human settlements in range, prepare for immediate evacuation and mobilization. The Empire has declared war. We survive by uniting, by striking where they least expect it. The nebula's light refracted through the canopy, painting the deck in ghostly colors. Fires raged below on Arcturus IV, but above, the survivors of humanity's last ember held their ground. Their eyes reflected fear, sorrow, and defiance all at once. A young engineer, Liao, whispered, "Do you think we'll ever see home again?" Celine placed a hand on her shoulder, firm yet comforting. Home is what we carry with us. And as long as we breathe, as long as we fight, humanity will have a home somewhere in these stars. As the fleet slipped deeper into the nebula, Celine looked back at the fading planet. Arcturus IV, her home, her family, her past, it was gone. But humanity remained. Small. Vulnerable. Defiant. And that defiance, she knew, was the seed of something the Empire could not destroy. She turned to her crew. Set course for the Outer Rim. We have work to do. We survive, and then we fight. The stars ahead were cold, vast, and indifferent. Yet, in the hearts of humans aboard the Resolute, a fire burned brighter than any Empire fleet. This was only the beginning. The nebula corridor swallowed the fleet in a haze of violet gas and scattered light. Sensors flickered in the ionized mist, scrambling readings and making the Empire's fleet almost blind. Celine Vos leaned over the control panel of the Resolute, eyes scanning the shifting patterns. Every flicker on the screen could be a mine, a predator, or a phantom. Shields holding, engines at 60%, reported Jaren. His jaw was tight, his hands moved with precision, betraying his tension. The nebula buys us time, but not for long. They'll adapt. Celine exhaled, her grip loosening just enough to tap the console. Time is all we have for now. Every second we survive is a second closer to regrouping. The survivors huddled in the common deck, the air thick with fear and grief. Children slept fitfully, wrapped in thermal blankets. Engineers and medics whispered updates. Liam moved between stations, checking systems, adjusting engines, and offering what comfort she could. We need more than survival, Celine said, voice carrying through the deck. We need allies. Human colonies that weren't destroyed, anyone willing to resist. Rena, the morale officer, nodded, her hands folded tightly. There are rumors of other settlements in the Outer Rim. Mostly isolated, under the radar, but some survived. If we can reach them. Her voice faltered, but her eyes held hope. Celine turned to Jaren. Send a covert transmission to every colony within range. No signatures, no tracing. Just a message: we are human. We survive. Join us. Jaren hesitated. They might not trust us, or worse, they might attract the Empire. They will trust the living over the dead. Celine replied sharply. We're offering survival. Nothing else matters. The fleet drifted through the nebula, moving like shadows. Outside, the stars were pinpricks of white and gold, but inside, humanity huddled together, fragile yet defiant. Celine walked among them, her presence a tether to hope. She found a young pilot, barely 17, hands trembling over a console. Captain, what if we fail? Celine crouched beside him, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. We won't fail because we're unpredictable. Because we're human. The Empire counts on order, on obedience. They can't calculate courage, imagination, or the will to survive. The boy's eyes flickered, doubt and determination warring within him. I'll try. Good. That's all I ask, she said. Hours later, the covert transmission reached 3 scattered colonies. Replies were cautious but positive, small fleets and settlements willing to link with Celine's command. It wasn't a force large enough to match the Empire, but it was something, a network of survivors, a seed for resistance. In the strategy room, Celine gathered her key officers. Holographic displays hovered above the table, showing star systems, weak points in Empire patrols, and sensor gaps in the nebula corridor. We can't face them head-on, Celine said, pointing to the visuals. They have numbers, firepower, and ruthless coordination. But we have mobility, unpredictability, and terrain. We strike smart. Hit them where they're unprepared, then disappear. Jaren frowned. Guerrilla tactics against a fleet this size? It's suicidal. Celine's eyes locked on his. Suicidal is sitting and waiting to be erased. We survive by being human, by being clever, adaptable, relentless. Leah added. We can rig damaged ships as decoys, use the nebula's interference to mass jumps, even hack into some of their targeting algorithms. It's not brute force. They won't expect us to be that unconventional. Exactly, Celine said. They think in protocols. They can't account for instinct. As the fleet moved deeper into the nebula, a small scouting vessel detected an Empire probe near one of the survivor colonies. Celine acted quickly. Prepare the intercept squadron. We take them out quietly, or they'll report back. No alarms. The squadron launched, slipping between clouds of ionized gas. Energy pulses lit the void as the human pilots struck, precise and ruthless. One probe exploded in a flash of blue-white light, pieces scattering like confetti. The humans returned to the fleet, adrenaline surging. Victory was small, tactical, but essential. It reminded them they could fight, even against impossible odds. Later, in the dim light of the command deck, Rena approached Celine. The crew, some of them are scared, Captain. Some wonder if what we're doing is right. Celine looked out at the nebula, her reflection fractured in the glass. Right? The Empire destroyed our home. Our families. They decided for us what was wrong. Survival isn't about morality right now. It's about staying alive and ensuring humanity endures. If that means breaking their rules, we will. We tried being civilized, not anymore. Silence fell, heavy but resolute. Every officer understood. Humanity's fight was not just about survival, it was about reclaiming agency. As night, or whatever passed for night in the nebula, drifted across the fleet, Celine checked the communications console again. Responses from the other colonies trickled in, cautious, hesitant, but promising. The network was fragile, but it existed. A human chain, linking survivors across the stars. Jaren approached her, voice low. They'll come for us. The Empire will know we're gathering strength. Next time, they won't just probe, they'll crush us. Celine's gaze hardened. Then we'll be ready. Not with their rules. Not with their weapons. With our own minds, our own instincts, and our own courage. Humanity isn't just flesh and bone, it's ingenuity, it's unpredictability, it's fire. And fire, Jaren, can't be contained. The fleet surged forward, slipping through the mist of the nebula corridor. Behind them, Arcturus IV burned, a reminder of loss. Ahead, scattered human colonies awaited, fragile yet defiant. Celine allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. Humanity would not go quietly. We'll strike first when they least expect it, she said, addressing the officers. Not just to survive, but to remind the galaxy what humans are capable of. They've underestimated us for too long. The officers nodded, each carrying their own grief and determination. In that quiet unity, a spark ignited. A spark that would grow into a flame. Celine's voice dropped to a whisper, but it echoed in every mind aboard the Resolute. We survive. We fight. We endure. And the Empire will learn, humanity is not so easily extinguished. The stars ahead were empty, indifferent, but in the hearts of these survivors, a new campaign had begun. A campaign of cunning, defiance, and unyielding spirit. Humanity had been beaten, but it had not bowed. Not yet. And in that fragile, desperate defiance, Celine knew they had already begun to win. The first strike had been planned for weeks, every calculation weighed against the slim margin of error that separated survival from annihilation. Celine Vos leaned over the holographic star map, eyes scanning the corridors of the Empire convo. They were moving between asteroid clusters in a seemingly routine patrol, unaware that the humans were already shadows in their path. "Sensors report light shields on 2 frigates," Jaren said, pointing at the display. "If we disable those first, the rest of the convo won't know what hit them." Celine nodded. "Lia, prep the decoy drones. Use the damaged ships as bait. Jaren, coordinate the intercept squadron. Timing is everything." Lia tapped the console, her fingers flying over the interface. "The drones will mimic ship signatures perfectly. They'll think it's a straggler fleet and focus fire there." Celine's voice was calm but sharp, carrying the weight of command. "And when they do, we strike. Quick, precise, and vanish before reinforcements arrive. Remember, predictability is death." The fleet split into 2 shadows, one lurking among the jagged asteroids, the other maneuvering into the convoy's blind spot. The first drones sparked to life, drifting like phantom ships through the void. Sensors aboard the Empire frigates lit up, targets detected, signatures confirmed. "No," Celine whispered. Human ships darted from the nebula's edge, lasers cutting through the dark like threads of lightning. Shields flared on the Empire ships, but the initial strikes targeted weak points, small gaps in the armor. Explosions erupted silently in the vacuum, pieces of metal scattering across the asteroid field. 2 frigates disabled," Jaren reported, eyes glued to the tactical display. "The others are confused. They're rerouting." Celine's lips pressed into a thin line. "Good. Keep the pressure. Draw them toward the gravity well near the outer belt." The humans were chaos incarnate. They moved unpredictably, using the asteroid field to their advantage, weaving in and out of shadows, luring the Empire's forces into traps. One frigate slammed against a massive rock, its hull tearing open as the humans slipped past. The unpredictability was almost beautiful, a deadly dance of instinct and improvisation. Yet not all felt the exhilaration. Rena, the morale officer, watched from the observation deck, her hands clasped tightly. "We're doing what we must, but the cost." Celine caught her gaze. "I know. I feel it too. But hesitation will kill us faster than their weapons ever could. We're fighting to survive. And if we survive, we rebuild. If we falter, everything is lost." Amid the chaos, a small transport carrying refugees veered too close to the firefight. Celine's heart skipped a beat. "Divert all fire away from civilian vessels. Shields up, reroute their path through the nebula's magnetic current." The fleet adapted on the fly, demonstrating human ingenuity in ways no algorithm could anticipate. One of the younger pilots, barely 20, shouted over comms, "Captain, I've got a shot on their command frigate." Celine's response was immediate. "Take it, but precision only. Minimal damage, maximum disruption. Hit their systems, not the crew." A pulse of energy struck the enemy's central node. Alarms flared aboard the frigate, systems rebooted, sensors scrambled. The humans had won the first tactical advantage without massacring those aboard. It was a calculated strike, HFY in essence, clever, deliberate, and resourceful. But victory brought tension. "Captain," Jaren said, lowering his voice, "some of the squadron, they're questioning orders. They want to go further, hit harder. Some say we should eliminate them all, show the Empire we're not to be trifled with." Celine's gaze hardened. "And some of you want to die as martyrs. We're human, not monsters. We survive because we calculate, because we adapt. Brutality is easy. Ingenuity is survival. Some will argue," Jaren pressed, "that mercy now will make us weak later." "Mercy now doesn't mean weakness," Celine snapped. "It means we're still human. Don't let the Empire define what we are. Even as they debated ethics, the Empire fleet regrouped. KRYTH Valzor's flagship appeared, massive and imposing, its presence cold and calculated. Sensors registered hundreds of fighters, dozens of capital ships, all converging on the human shadows. They know, Jaren said grimly. They always know, Celine replied. But they don't understand. They think survival is linear. They don't account for unpredictability. They can't see instinct. The humans slipped into asteroid canyons, weaving a deadly maze of traps. Explosive charges detonated as the Empire's ships pursued, asteroid debris turning into lethal obstacles. Humans moved like whispers of chaos, striking, vanishing, improvising. Every maneuver reinforced what Celine had preached: ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were weapons no empire could quantify. Amid the fighting, Celine checked on the younger pilots. One faltered, eyes wide with fear. I can't. Then watch and learn, Celine said. Fear isn't weakness. Hesitation is. Focus. Adapt. Survive. That's what humans do. By the time the skirmish ended, the Empire fleet had withdrawn, battered and confused. Casualties among the humans were significant, but not crippling. The refugees remained safe, and the fleet had proven that ingenuity could outmatch numbers. HFY alive in action. Back aboard the Resolute, the crew gathered for debriefing. Exhausted but exhilarated, they saw what Celine had seen all along: humans could survive against impossible odds, not because of raw strength, but because of unpredictability, creativity, and stubborn will. Jaren approached Celine privately, voice low. We won today, but the Empire won't forgive this. Next time, they'll bring everything they have. Celine's eyes met the swirling nebula outside. Let them come. We'll be ready, not with brute force, but with what makes us human. Instinct, creativity, courage. That's their weakness, and ours to exploit. Liao walked up, her face streaked with soot and sweat. They'll call us desperate, insane, but it worked. We survived. Celine allowed herself a thin smile. We survived. That's enough for today. But tomorrow, we strike again. And next time, we aim not just to survive, but to show the Empire what humanity really is. Reyna, still somber, asked quietly. Do we have the right to do this, Captain? To fight like this? Celine's gaze swept over the crew, each one weary but alive. The Empire decided for us what we couldn't have: life, safety, home. We're taking that back. Not just with weapons, but with every spark of ingenuity and defiance in us. That's human. That's HFY. The stars beyond the nebula were cold and indifferent, but within the fleet, a fire burned brighter than any star. Humanity had survived its first strike. They had adapted, outsmarted, and endured. And in the silence between the skirmishes, Celine whispered, almost to herself, The Empire hasn't seen the worst of us. Not yet. The campaign had begun. The humans were no longer just survivors. They were a force shaped by loss, sharpened by necessity, and fueled by an unyielding will to endure. The Empire's stronghold loomed ahead, a fortress of black steel orbiting a dead star. Its surface bristled with weapon emplacements, hangars, and sensor arrays that hummed with lethal precision. For anyone else, it would have been impossible. For humanity, it was a challenge, and Celine Vos never turned away from a challenge. All systems checked? She asked, voice steady, masking the storm of anticipation beneath. Shields at full, engines ready for rapid maneuvers, Liao reported, fingers flying across the console. Decoy drones prepped. Boarding teams standing by. Jaren, standing behind her, frowned. This is insane, Captain. We're walking into the lion's den. Celine met his gaze. And lions can't anticipate a shadow that moves like a human mind. This is not just survival. This is reclaiming what they tried to take from us: dignity, life, and defiance. The fleet slipped through the orbital defenses under the cover of a radiation flare from the dead star. The Empire's sensors blinked frantically, trying to compensate, but humans thrived in the chaos. They moved unpredictably, weaving between turrets and automated batteries, exploiting gaps in timing no algorithm could anticipate. Decoys deployed, Lia announced. They're engaging the wrong signals. Good, Celine replied. Engage boarding teams. Hit the weapons arrays first. Disable their offense before they realize what's happening. The humans stormed into the fortress, small crafts cutting through hangars like knives. Explosions rocked the station, throwing sparks and debris into zero gravity. Celine's boarding party slid along magnetic rails, moving silently toward the command core. Inside, KRYTH Valzora waited. His alien form towered, armor gleaming under artificial lights, expression unreadable. Captain Voss, he intoned, voice deep and resonant. You persist despite reason. Why? Celine's eyes narrowed. Reason didn't save Arcturus IV. Reason didn't protect my family. Humanity survives not by reason alone, KRYTH. We survive because we adapt, because we fight when the odds are impossible, because we refuse to die quietly. KRYTH's gaze swept over the crew. You are chaos incarnate. I can calculate probability, anticipate patterns, but you are unpredictable. Celine smirked. That's the point. Outside, the fleet engaged the Empire's remaining forces. Lasers cut through the void. Damaged ships spun and exploded. Humans fought with precision, exploiting every flaw. One pilot used the magnetic pull of a nearby asteroid to slingshot past enemy fighters, taking out a squadron with minimal exposure. Another jammed targeting arrays, turning automated defenses against their own ships. Inside the fortress, Celine and her team reached the central control hub. They rigged the systems to overload, redirecting power surges into the weapons arrays. Sparks arced across consoles. Alarms blared, but the humans moved like shadows, precise, deliberate. KRYTH advanced, steps deliberate, each one echoing authority and menace. You cannot win, Captain. You are outmatched. Celine didn't flinch. We're already winning. Not by brute force, not by their rules, but by being human. She hit the final override. Systems erupted in controlled explosions, disabling the station's defenses. The humans outside pressed their advantage, exploiting the chaos. The battle raged in a symphony of chaos. Small ships darted between turrets, dodging fire and striking weak points. Human ingenuity was everywhere, ships rigged as decoys, improvised weapons, unpredictable maneuvers. The Empire's numerical superiority crumbled under tactics it could not calculate. KRYTH's eyes narrowed. You are persistent. Celine stepped closer, hand poised over the final override panel. Persistent enough to survive. Persistent enough to remind the galaxy what humans are capable of. A sudden surge of energy shook the room, the Empire flagship's countermeasure attempting a last strike. Celine's team held their ground. Lia rerouted the energy through secondary conduits, diffusing the blast. The control room shook, lights flickered, but humanity endured. The boarding team advanced. KRYTH lunged, but Celine anticipated him, using a combination of agility and improvisation to evade. The alien staggered, unprepared for such instinctive precision. Celine activated a containment field, trapping him momentarily. Outside, the fleet pressed the advantage. Jaren's squadron executed a final maneuver, drawing the Empire's remaining fighters into a trap. Explosions rocked the void. Human ingenuity, unpredictable, adaptive, relentless, tipped the scales. KRYTH struggled against the containment field. You are chaos, but chaos cannot last. Celine leaned close, voice cold but unwavering. Chaos is survival. Chaos is human. And we endure. She released the override, sending a pulse through the fortress systems that shut down the Empire's defenses entirely. The Empire fleet's cohesion collapsed. Capital ships lost coordination, fighters floundered, and automated turrets went offline. Humanity's fleet struck decisively, crippling enemy formations with precision. The fortress was theirs. Celine surveyed the aftermath, breathing heavily. The crew around her was battered, exhausted, but alive. The survivors, humans who had faced annihilation, stood victorious. The Empire had underestimated them, and it had cost them dearly. Jaren approached, voice low. We actually did it. They've retreated. Celine's eyes swept the ruined control room. Not just survived, Jaren. We've shown them what humanity is. She turned to the crew. Every colony they destroyed, every life they took, this is our answer. We fight, we endure, we rebuild. And no empire can predict the human heart. Reyna stepped forward, exhaustion etched into her features. It's over, for now. Celine shook her head slightly. No. It's never over. But we've taken the first step. The first strike in a campaign the galaxy will remember. Humanity survives, and now, humanity fights. The stars beyond the station were cold and distant, indifferent to victory or defeat. But within the hearts of humans aboard the Resolute and the scattered fleet, a fire burned hotter than any weapon. It was defiance, it was courage, it was ingenuity. It was HFY. Celine looked at her crew, pride and resolve shining in her eyes. We tried being civilized, not anymore. But now we survive. And the galaxy will learn what that means. The survivors gathered their strength, tending to the wounded and preparing for the next move. Humanity had faced annihilation, been tested, and emerged stronger. The Empire had assumed chaos would break them. Instead, it had forged them into something new, unpredictable, relentless, and undeniably human. As the fleet set a course for the nearest survivor colonies, Celine allowed herself a moment of reflection. Losses had been heavy, grief palpable, but hope endured. Humanity would rebuild, unite, and fight again. And in that moment, Celine knew something fundamental. No matter how vast the empire, no matter how cold or calculating, humanity would always find a way to endure, to adapt, and to triumph. The nebula's glow reflected in the control panels, dancing across tired faces. The fight had been won today, but the war for humanity's survival, and its place in the galaxy, was just beginning. And they would face it as they always had, together, unpredictable, and unbowed.